If you're studying in South Africa right now, your government grant already drops you almost exactly on the poverty line. The official NSFA's living allowance comes out to about R1,430 a month, just R15 above the poverty line. That means before rent, before food, before data, your safety net is already sitting on the edge of poverty. I'm going to break down exactly why surviving as a student in South Africa feels impossible right now, even with funding. Today we're covering 5 money traps: housing, tuition, debt, unemployment after graduation, and the pressure your own family is carrying. Every number you're about to hear comes from Stats.SA, the World Bank, NSFAs, and South Africa's own universities, not guesswork. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly where your money disappears and why it's not your fault. The first trap is the one nobody warns you about before you even sign a lease. Your accommodation cost alone can wipe out almost your entire NSFA's package before a single textbook is bought. A Metro NSFA's package without catering gives you R52,000 for housing and R17,160 for living costs a year. That's about R6,237 a month total, before tuition is even counted. A single shared room in many cities already costs R5,000 a month, which eats 80% of that entire NSFA's package. A small studio apartment at R5,500 a month takes 88%, leaving almost nothing for food or transport. After rent and a basic nutrition budget, students on this package are often left with around R307 for the whole month. That's R307 for data, toiletries, printing, laundry, and getting to campus combined. And it's not just expensive, there genuinely isn't enough housing to go around. South Africa has a shortage of more than 500,000 purpose-built student beds, a gap expected to grow towards 781,000 by 2025. TVE debt students have it even worse, making up about 30% of students but getting only 5% of purpose-built housing. Some students end up in rooms built for one but shared by up to 6 people, just to afford a roof. Transport adds even more pressure. The average South African household spends about R1,828 a month on transport alone. That's already more than the entire NSFA's living allowance of R1,430 a month just to get to and from class. The second trap hits before you even start classes, and most students don't see it coming. It's not just tuition that breaks the budget, it's everything universities expect you to pay up front. UCT asks for a first payment of R34,500 by early February, on top of separate residence deposits. That single payment equals more than 2 months of the average South African household's entire income. Then there's tuition itself. A UCT medical degree costs R1Love13, 510, which is 79% of an average Black African-headed household's yearly income. Even a mid-range degree isn't safe. A UKZN accounting degree at R63,628's up 44% of that same household's yearly income. On top of that, UCT lists R10,0000 laptop and R500 for a laptop and R5,0000 before a single lecture starts. That's R24,500 in extras alone, almost 40% of the cheapest UCT degree fee on its own. The third trap is the one universities don't advertise because it makes the whole system look broken. Unpaid fees don't just disappear. They turn into debt that can lock you out of your own results. South African public universities are owed close to R14 billion in unpaid student debt right now. That debt exploded from R3, 2 billion in 2011 to over R16 billion by 2020, a rise of more than 400% in 9 years. Out of over 744,000 students linked to that debt, nearly 406,000 are no longer even registered. Many universities will withhold your results, your academic record, and your certificate until that debt is paid. Even NSFAS itself caused part of the problem, capping accommodation funding and leaving universities owed R608 million as a result. So you can do everything right, finish your modules, and still get stuck because of money you never controlled. The fourth trap only shows up after you've already paid the price, when you finally graduate. The promise was simple: study hard, get a degree, get a job, but that promise doesn't hold the way it used to. Graduate unemployment was 2% in the first quarter of 2026, up from 3% just 1 quarter earlier. For young people overall between 15 and 34, unemployment sits at 8%, and for those aged 15 to 24, it's 9%. Long-term unemployment among young people has also gotten worse, rising from 3% to 5% of all unemployed youth over the last decade. Where you're from matters too. Youth unemployment hit 62.7% in the Eastern Cape compared to 28.7% in the Western Cape. So even after surviving the debt and the rent, the job market you're entering still isn't guaranteed to reward you. The fifth trap isn't really about you, it's about the people behind you who are also stretched thin. Most students aren't funding themselves, they're relying on a household that's already under pressure. The average black African-headed household earns R$143,632 a year, about R$11,969 a month, before any of its own costs. Compare that to white-headed households, averaging R$676,375 a year, nearly 5 times more. Over half of South African households received at least one social grant in 2024 just to get by. PMBJD found that electricity and transport alone took 59.2% of a minimum wage worker's monthly pay in January 2026. That leaves under R$2,000 for food and everything else for an entire household, not just one student. It's no surprise then that nearly a third of South African students deal with food insecurity on campus. At UKZN, more than half of students studied were vulnerable to going hungry, and 1 in 10 were eating only one meal a day. Almost 2/3 of those students said hunger directly affected their energy and their ability to think in class. And 43% said they felt too embarrassed to even ask for help, so the real number is likely even higher. Even getting online to study isn't simple. Only 17.4% of households have fixed internet at home, the rest rely on mobile data.